4 chapters left in RWBY Volume 5. They better pull something out their ass. Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake of the OneManBand is back again. Welcome back to another RWBY review. This time we're taking a look at Volume 5, Chapter 10. Now this is very much a Blake-centered episode, and we all know how much I love Blake-centered episodes, but you might be mildly surprised on how I actually take the Blakeness of this episode. But before we get into any of that, we gotta take care of the 2 other small plot points that happen in this episode. First off, we get a follow-up on Ozpin going to Crow telling him that he wants to talk. Now, as Oz and Crow are talking, Oz finds it extremely odd about how everything that's been going on and how, you know, things aren't looking the best. And Crow chimes in with, not all those professional huntsmen. Remember, Crow is looking for professional huntsmen to go with them to attack Raven's camp, or at least go to intimidate Raven into giving up the Spring Maiden. And Crow states that professional huntsmen like that just don't all drop dead at once, and that Salem's reach has gone far and wide, and she is probably more powerful than either him or Ozpin first assumed. Yet, Ozpin still has faith in humanity, and says that humanity is very resilient, and has this air about them that they can really get through anything. But Crow is ever the pessimist. He sees it as, look, Oz, I know you can see the good in people, the good in humanity. You've been around them for a very long time. But Salem can't be doing this all on her own with just her Grimm. She has people under her command, humans under her command. And Ozpin just kind of takes this also in stride. There are a few bad eggs here and there, but Ozpin still has faith that humanity can be able to pull itself out of this situation and pretty much win in the end. And I think that's real admirable for someone like Ozpin to have. Remember, Ozpin has lived many different lifetimes and has gone through probably countless wars and has seen probably thousands of transgressions. Remember, this is the man who stated that he has made more mistakes than any man, woman, or child on this planet. Yet he still has this air about him that he can see the good in people. He can see the positive through the negative. Pretty much he can see the silver lining in any thunderstorm. And normally, the trope of the old man who's been through it all is very much the opposite. He's the grizzled old man who's pretty much done with the world and doesn't want anything to do with it. He's seen the horrors of humanity and really needs to be redeemed. He needs to be shown the redemptional qualities that humanity actually has. But Ozpin is the exact opposite of that. He's already seen the redeeming qualities in humanity. So I think that's actually real refreshing. However, their conversation is cut a little bit short with RWBY coming in. And, well, RWBY has a couple of questions for Ozpin. She brings up the issue of, they've been talking about the Knowledge Relic in Haven and the Spring Maiden. But what about the Fall Maiden and the Relic at Beacon? Now, as you might remember, back in Volume 4, when Raven first contacted Crow in the infamous bar scene in the chapter called Family, I believe, she asked Crow, does Salem have it? Referring to the relic, as we later on learn. And while that question isn't answered in that episode, it can very much be assumed that Salem doesn't have it. By the way, Crow seems to shift the conversation to different topics, while Raven is still trying to get that answer out of him. If she had gotten the relic, don't you think that Crow would have actually said something about it? I mean, that's a pretty big thing for Salem to have. So while the bringing up of this issue is good, and we do get an answer for it, Ozpin states that the relic at Beacon is safe. He's put in special countermeasures to make it a little bit more difficult to find. And while we get the answer that no, Salem does not have the relic, I still feel like this question really didn't need to be answered. We pretty much already had assumed that Salem didn't have the relic. And if she did, then we didn't really care, because we're too busy worrying about this other relic at Haven Academy. However, RWBY has another question, and I'll tell you this right now. When I first saw this episode, when RWBY came to Ozpin for questions, I was so excited. Like, she's gonna be asking the big ones. She's gonna be asking the big questions. Oh, she's gonna be asking about the big things. And then she's like, oh, the relic, and they're saying about the relic. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess that's fine. And then when it was like, I have another question, I was like, oh, she's actually gonna ask it. She's going to ask about her silver eyes! The silver-eyed warriors! The silver-eyed warriors' power! And how they can affect the Grimm and the maidens! She's finally gonna ask. We're finally gonna get some answers! We're finally gonna get the payoff for Chekhov's gun at the very, very end of Volume 3! Yes, what is it? What is it? Tell us, Ozpin! Tell us, RWBY! Ask your question! Just to have her turn around and ask, is your cane a relic? And I was destroyed at that point. I was like, you wasted it. You wasted such a perfect opportunity to at least bring up the concept of the silver eyes again. Ozpin maybe didn't have to explain everything about them, but at least acknowledge that the silver eyes still exist. Again, it was dropped at the end of Volume 3, and then it's never been brought up since. So I was pretty pissed off at that point. So RWBY asks her question, is your cane a relic? And Ozpin just says, no. Are there any other questions? And she says, I have no questions. Then the three proceed to laugh. The three characters proceed to laugh, and I proceed to rage. Now, I'm not raging at the concept that she didn't ask about her silver eyes. I didn't rage about that. I'm raging at the fact that she asked about his cane, and he simply said no. Remember, Ozpin's cane has been something that a lot of people have speculated about, me included. And some of us thought, well, maybe the relic is in Ozpin's cane. And while I never really thought that that was really the case, I thought maybe it was being kept safe inside the cane and it wasn't the cane itself, or maybe the cane itself unlocked, you know, something to do with the relic. He simply says it's just a simple cane he's had for a long time. It does have a few tricks up its sleeve, but it's not the relic. And to me, to a skeptic, to a, to an analyst, to a reviewer of RWBY, this was an insult to people like me. He doesn't say, like, just to ask this question and have it be blatantly said, no, it's not. It doesn't matter that he said no. It's just how blatant he goes across saying it. As in, this is the audience themselves asking, and they're just like, oh, no. I just felt really insulted that something like this, that had so much mystery about it, was simply answered, the mystery of it was answered with a simple no. A one-word answer. It was just an insult to everyone who's made videos, who's made speculations, who's made theories about this cane, and about the relic too, and its connection to the cane. it just felt insulting. Their laughing is interrupted with Lionheart calling Crow, telling him that a breakthrough has been made with the council and that a meeting is going to be put together so that they can form a game plan to go after the Spring Maiden. And while RWBY runs off to gather everyone else, Crow and Ozpin are very skeptical. You know, for Leo to just flip-flop like that, it seemed very out of place, especially after what Crow said about Lionheart from their first visit. So, even though that this might be leading to the trap that the Chaos Syndicate and Raven are going to set for Crow, they're not going to walk into it blindly. They're skeptical. They're going to be on their toes. And then we switch to Lionheart's perspective, and we see that it's Raven who actually went to go and visit him. She didn't go to visit Crow to warn him about the possible take on his life. No, she went to Leo because, as we learned in the previous episode, Raven now knows that Lionheart is in the pocket of Salem. So it seems that Raven has come to Lionheart now to maybe discuss with him the plan that's gonna happen, how they're gonna come in, get the relic, kill Crow, get out, White Fang's gonna come in, destroy everything. You know, she's probably telling him the plan and probably gonna have him orchestrate at least a part of that plan, which he has, as we have seen. He's called Crow and everyone to a meeting that's obviously going to be a trap. And Raven is actually very surprised that it's Lionheart who's actually gone in and become an ally of Salem. Lionheart seems to have been, at least before his betrayal, one of the most loyal lieutenants to Ozpin. And to have him betray Ozpin really takes a lot of people back. And Lionheart goes on to explain that he is afraid. He's afraid. He's very much going back to his Cowardly Lion inspiration. He's afraid, and he believes that Salem cannot be stopped. All he can do is get out of the way and hope that he doesn't suffer from the initial blast. Now, Raven actually sees eye to eye to him. She says, yeah, she can't be stopped. All we can really do is get out of the way and hope she doesn't come after us. But we actually get to see a lot of insight into Lionheart's character here. We get to see that he's a very smart person and he can read people very well. He sees through Raven's charade, and he sees that even though she may call it smart, that she is just simply smart and knew to just not take Ozpin's side and get out of the way. Lionheart sees that, no, you're not smart. That's not your excuse. You're like me. You're afraid. Raven is afraid of Salem and afraid of losing, and she's using the moniker of being smart as a way to fool herself into thinking that she is making the right choice. And we get a confirmation of this when Raven tells Lionheart that you did what you had to survive, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Lionheart simply retorts with, who are you trying to convince here? You know, who is that what you said really for? Is it for me, or is it for yourself? And it is very much for Raven. She has been making excuses for herself for so long that I've done this to survive. I've done this to be smart. I've done this for the safety of my people. When really she's just afraid. That's all she is. I could even think that this might tie in to her leaving of Yang all those years ago. She justifies it with saying, oh, well, they're weak. The people who live in the city are weak. The people who abide by the huntsman and by the rules are weak. And the tribe, they're strong, and they need a strong leader. That strong leader is me. So I gotta leave the weak behind and go take care of the tribe because they're strong. When, in reality, she could have just been afraid of being a mother. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to raise this child the right way. And so she simply cut herself out of the picture and left. This, not only do we get insight into Lionheart's personality, but we also get insight into Raven's personality here. And that's why this is my favorite part of this episode. It's just a shame that it's so short. Now we finally head back to the meat of this episode. And we head back to Menagerie at the Belladonna Manor that's still very much under attack. And before we can get to Blake's side of the story, we see her mom, Kali, is still fighting off some White Fang members in a different part of the house. Now, I'm going to make a lot of people mad right here, but I think this whole Kali segment is just stupid. For one, she's standing out in the open, firing at the White Fang evildoers, the evil White Fang grunts that are shooting back at them. She's standing in the open with no cover around, and she isn't even getting shot at. She isn't hit at all. She then proceeds to run out of bullets and throw the gun to the ground. And then we see that there are at least 2 of the Belladonna bodyguards just sitting behind pillars, taking cover, and doing nothing. You're bodyguards, for Pete's sake. You are paid to guard bodies. You are employed to be the protectors of this family. It is your duty and your job. If you don't have a weapon, then you at least get the person you're trying to protect behind cover or shield them with your own body. That is your job. That's what you're being paid for. And not only that, when she runs out of bullets, Kali then picks up a wooden tea tray and deflects and stops a bullet that was coming for her. And it doesn't deflect the bullet. There's no mark on the back of the tea set that shows that the bullet was ricocheted off. It doesn't go through the tray. It just stops it. Wood stops a bullet. And it's not like it's thick wood. It's like maybe that thick. What kind of wood is that to stop a bullet? Bullshit! And then remember Yuma, the bat faunus that was built up to be this like crazy badass assassin guy who took out the original messenger who was going to Mistral to warn them about Adam's attack? He swoops in and goes for one of her bodyguards. Instead of, going for her, the target, and then he's distracted long enough for her to come up behind him and knock him out with said tea tray. It's this scene by itself that really makes me think, is Kali secretly working for the White Fang? Is that secretly what's going on here? Because she's not really shot at by the White Fang at all. She's able to knock out Yuma, a trained assassin, in one hit, and then she's able to capture him and bring him in later on in the episode. It just seems way too out of place for someone like... It's just stupid, and I could not take that part of the episode seriously at all. However, we get to the actual Blake part of this Blake episode, and we come back to her where we left her off in the last episode. She and Ilya are staring down each other in the library of the Belladonna Manor, and we all know that a battle is coming. However, Blake is just simply, just stay out of my way. Stay out of my way, and goes to leave the room. And I can see that Blake right here is giving Ilya one last chance. One last chance to just say no. But Ilya doesn't take it and attacks Blake, which was a shadow clone. So Blake now knows that Ilya is going to attack her, is not going to let her get away. And so the battle actually commences. Now, I'm gonna kind of be bouncing around this battle scene with my points here, but I feel that I have to in order to get my thoughts across properly. Now, let it be known, this isn't the traditional RWBY fight that we're used to. It's not a prolonged slugging match, if you will, with as previous RWBY episodes have had, where it's all flashy and there's explosions, or there's, blow traded for blow. It's more of an, how would I say, it's more of a character moment than an actual battle. Sure, they are using weapons to fight each other, and there's shots fired and things shot up and sliced, but really, it isn't anywhere close to any of the previous RWBY battles. However, it does have a few tricks up its sleeve, with it also being more of a character study and more of a character moment for both Blake and Ilya. It's also very much an intellectual battle. It's not so much a slugging match as I said before. It's more of an environmental awareness battle, where you have to use the environment to your advantage. Now, it's my opinion that if Blake and Ilya were to actually meet blow for blow, where Blake was not holding back, Blake would still win. Blake is just a better fighter than Ilya. Ilya is an assassin. Ilya is a spy. She is meant to get in quick, do the do, and get out and not get caught. She is not an front lines fighter. So it really begs the question, why didn't she just do what she is meant for? Why didn't she just get into the Belladonna Manor, stab, kill some people, and then get out? Why did it have to be this big, giant attack by the White Fang and with Corsican Finnick taking a part in the actual attack? Why couldn't it just been Ilya and maybe a few other assassins going in and doing a stealth stabby stab? It just seems really out of place and really dumb. The White Fang is dumb. You are so dumb, for real. And as I was saying before, it's obvious to see that Blake is holding back during this battle. She doesn't want to hurt Ilya. She wants to get through to her. Although I still don't understand why Blake would want to get through to her after Ilya has stated that she's going to kill Blake's parents and also is going to ship Blake off to Adam, where she would probably be tortured and possibly raped by him. But no, I'm still going to try to break through to my former friend who did all these terrible things to me. So we see that Blake is doing a lot of dodging and a lot of parrying, not so much attacking Ilya, because she doesn't want to hurt her. She wants to more get through her thick skull and break through her mental defenses, which leads to Blake's lecturing of Ilya. Ilya doesn't want Blake to lecture her about what is going on. Ilya even says, stop stepping around the issue and fight me. Stop holding back and fight me. Ilya wants, again, someone to fight. She wants to come at her adversaries head on and fight, mess up, hurt, and kill whatever is standing in her way. That's essentially the mindset that she has adapted from being in this White Fang. And for as much as it enrages me that Blake is trying to do this for Ilya to actually get through to her, I can actually respect the reason why she's doing it. Ilya even asks her, why are you doing this? You know, why aren't you just fighting me? Why are you trying to get through to me? And Blake responds with, because I've run away too much. And it's here that I was actually very proud of Blake. Once again, good Blake character growth right here is that she's acknowledging, yes, I've run away too much. I've left so much that I love behind and have just tried to, you know, get all that out of my life. But you know what? That's never worked. I need to come at this from a different angle, which she's doing right now. And as much as I don't like it, I do like it in the sense that Blake is developing and growing as a character. Shining character moment from Blake right here. Now, while Blake is holding back in this fight, and she's very much controlling the fight because of her former training and her fighting prowess, Ilya, on the other hand, is trying to control the environment by dimming the lights, by making sure she doesn't stay in one place twice, by keeping Blake at a distance, by whipping her with the whip. With the whip part of her weapon. And, of course, using her natural camouflage to blend into the darkness. Remember, all Faunus have almost perfect night vision. However, if they have perfect night vision, it's still going to be rather hard to see someone who is meant to be blend in with the environment even if it's dark. So I actually thought that was actually a very smart thing for Rooster Teeth to do, and for the show to do, to make it so, yes, I'm dimming the lights, and when she did that, I was instantly like, but faunas have really good eyesight in the dark, how's that gonna help? And then when I saw Ilya was actually camouflaged to blend in with the environment, I was like, oh, I see, she's trying to control the environment. And so, this fight is very much, like I said, an environmental fight where control the environment is key, and it was still more of a character moment than an actual fight. And as much as a lot of people may like this fight, I kind of have to say it falls more into the thumbs down than the thumbs up, for me at least. Because it isn't so much of a fight, it's more of a character moment. And while I think there are shining examples in this fight about new and different kinds of battles and how a battle can actually go, when it's the third battle in this entire volume, it loses some of its credibility. If there were maybe more fights leading up to this one, I probably would have gave it a pass. But as much as the good things that may be in this fight scene right here, it still just isn't enough to redeem the whole lack of fights in this volume. However, though, I do think it's a good character moment for both Ilya and Blake. So Blake decides that she's going to end the fight, and she sets the room on fire using some dust bullets, completely negating Ilya's advantage by taking out the lights. And it's here that Blake finally ends the fight, pins Ilya to the ground, and asks her, why are you doing this? Why are you hurting people when you know it doesn't work and it's the wrong thing to do? And Ilya just responds with, because it's the only thing I can do. And mostly, Ilya says that she doesn't know what else to do. And as much as it just pains me to hear that, because I don't find that to be a good excuse, I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. What happens next is the fight between Gira, Sun, Corsic, and Finnick enters this room as well. Gira sees that his daughter is in trouble and is attacked from behind, and he is stabbed in the back. But you see, I don't say that with any form of shock or emotion, because really, he's stabbed in the back. That causes Blake to be distracted and for Ilya to get up from her pinned position. But besides that, Gira just shrugs it off. He's stabbed in the back with a freaking knife, and it does not faze him at all. So I'd like to actually call that he wasn't going to be fazed by any weapon, even if it broke through his aura. Gira simply throws Finnick off of him and pulls the knife out, and then for some reason, somehow, Corsic is able to go blow to blow with Gira. And when they get into a punching match, I'm sorry, but Gira has at least 50 pounds of muscle mass on you. You would not be able to match him blow for blow in a punching match. So Gira is completely unfazed by his wound, and when Finnick comes back in to attack Gira again, Sun swoops in and saves him. And then Sun proceeds to go after Ilya. And, well, I wish we would have had this fight more than we had the Blake and Ilya character moment. Sun proceeds to completely decimate and destroy Ilya in a straight-up fight, once again emphasizing my idea that Blake always had the opportunity to destroy Ilya in the fight. She was simply holding back. Sun just goes full offense on Ilya, and even though Ilya's weapon is frozen by Blake, formerly during their battle, once Ilya gets it unfrozen, she still doesn't have a chance. And I really believe that even if her weapon was unfrozen and still had dust in it and didn't misfire, she still wouldn't have stood a chance against Sun. His offensive power is just too strong for someone like Ilya. And then we get another moment where Sun is pressing Ilya against a pillar, and Ilya is able to hold him off for a little bit, and it's just like, no, you shouldn't be able to do this. Once again, Sun has probably at least 50 pounds of muscle mass over you. You shouldn't be able to do this. Why do you make people muscled in this show and then just have them on equal grounds with non-muscled people? It makes no sense! However, Sun doesn't know his own strength and completely takes the pillar out. And before a upper walkway can fall and collapse on Ilya, she's saved by Gira. Again, completely shrugging off the back wound that he has to stop a freaking wooden walkway from crushing someone. Sun activates his semblance to try to get Gira out of a sticky situation, and Finnick sees an opportunity where he can finally take Gira out. However, due to some quick thinking from Blake, she's able to pull Gira out from under the wooden walkway, leaving Finnick underneath it, and he is crushed and killed. And, well, the animation in that scene just isn't really all that good. It's a real cut to it collapsing and then it exploding? I guess the dust inside the daggers that he had exploded, but it just was a real sloppy animation in my opinion. So Finnick is dead, Corsic is almost completely out of the fight, and is actually detained by Ilya. Who would have thought? And so Corsic and the remaining White Fang grunts are taken prisoner, and a crowd is formed outside the Belladonna Manor, for the attack has failed. And oh my gosh, I cannot believe the ineptitude of the White Fang in this moment. For one, Corsic and Finnick, you didn't have to be there. You could have just sent grunts and elite members of your society. But no, you two had to go. You had to be a part of the battle. You had to make sure that you were the ones to kill Gira Belladonna. And now look where you are. One of you is going to be going to prison, and the other one is freaking dead. I hope it was worth it. And also, again, why couldn't the White Fang have just sent an Ilya and a couple of assassins in instead of a full-blown attack? That way they could have placed the blame on literally anyone. And the blame... And nobody probably would have even thought the White Fang would have done something like this. If suddenly in the middle of the night, Gira and Kali Belladonna ended up dead, then who would be to blame? Practically anyone. But no, the White Fang had to make it a full assault on their manor, incriminating themselves, and especially the Corsic and Finnick being there, they can't plead that it was just a splinter cell of eccentric White Fang members. Their whole attack on the Belladonna Manor was poorly planned, poorly executed, and just flat out stupid. It was pretty much there for plot convenience, is what I'm saying. This had to happen because the plot demanded it, and that is not a good excuse. However, after the botched attack on the manor, we do get another shining Blake character moment where she gives a speech to the people of Menagerie. A speech that she probably would have given earlier in this volume if Ilya hadn't have interrupted her during the Belladonna press conference. She states, humans didn't do this. Humans didn't attack this manor, have people killed, and just ruin the night. This was Faunus. The Faunus have done this to themselves. And she gives this shining example, this shining speech about if we let people like Adam show the world what the Faunus are like, then we can't blame the humans for really not liking us if their only interaction with Faunus have been Adam's white fang. Which is like stuff I've been saying for so long. And I'm just so glad that we have this moment, because Blake comes out of her shell and does this amazing speech to rally the people of Menagerie. And it's through this that the Belladonnas and Blake are able to get their army of volunteers to help defend Haven Academy from the White Fang attack that's going to be coming. And the first volunteer to volunteer for this defensive army is Ilya. If they would have her. To which I would say, nay, nay, no. All the things you have done, all the things that you've done in Menagerie against the Faunus in general, and your association with the White Fang, no, you should go to jail right now. You should go to jail, be processed, and then we may discuss this after we defend Haven Academy. Then we may discuss terms. But no, we all know Ilya's gonna get off with a free pass and be there at Haven Academy to help defend it against Adam. So, this brings me to the big thing about this episode that I did not like. Ilya's switching sides. Now, I know it should have been like, Jake, you should have seen this coming way before it actually happened. Ilya switching sides, come on, we all know it was going to happen. I even saw someone put a comment on my video a while back saying that, yeah, Ilya will probably switch sides because it's going to be the PC thing to do. And I just kind of feel that maybe that's the case. And when this episode first came out, I was just so mad at Ilya. I came to the point where I was just like, Ilya has made her decisions in life. And they've all been the wrong decisions. Blake has even said that. And that shouldn't excuse her for the things that she's done. Blake and Ilya are very much the same type of character. They were both in the White Fang. They both did things for the White Fang that they probably weren't proud of. And they both saw the White Fang slowly become what it is today. The violent, racist, and tyrannical organization that it is. However, Blake made the choice to leave, to cut herself off from it and start a better life. To start a better life away from the White Fang, becoming a huntress to try to fix the relations between humanity and Faunus. Her plan was flawed by all means, but it was still a plan nonetheless. And she made the choice to go through with this plan. Ilya, on the other hand, made the choice to stay with the White Fang. Made the choice to see the White Fang as the only solution to the problem. And made the choice to do all these bad things, to hurt people, to go out of her way to cause harm to humans and to Faunus, who just stood by and watched while the humans did whatever they did. She made those choices. So when I hear Ilya in this episode saying that she never had a choice, she never had a choice in any of this, I just have to say bullshit. No, she did not. You had a choice. Blake is evidence that there is always a choice. And I'm a firm believer in there's always a choice. You can choose not to do it. You can choose to stand against it. You can choose to say no. Now, a friend of mine brought up the concept of, well, the White Fang work very much like a cult, in where they indoctrinate their members into thinking that the White Fang is the only way to go, and pretty much no other solution is valuable. Because look at the White Fang, look at all we've accomplished, which I have to give credit where credit is due. It is a good point. But upon further analyzing my friend's points, he states that Ilya was shown that the White Fang always wins. They were always winning, always making progress, even through their violent means. And so the concept of winning is therefore proof. However, in this moment where Ilya sees that the White Fang can be defeated, she instantly switches sides and sides with the victors of the situation, which makes her even less of an honorable character. She's a flip-flopper. She's the kind of person who's going to choose the winning side no matter what. And to be honest, I honestly think if things start to look bleak for Blake and her faction during this battle at Haven, she's gonna switch sides back to the White Fang. The argument of Ilya switching sides out of a true character moment, I just don't accept right now. Because I feel that she was just making excuses for herself and felt that, and her defense of not having a choice isn't a valid one, because there's always a choice. Even if you've been indoctrinated, even if you believe that these people always win, even if these people have said, our way is the only way you're going to make progress, there is still always a choice. I just can't respect Ilya as a character at all. She is still my least favorite character in this series, and I don't think anything is going to redeem her in my eyes. So now that Ilya, his team, joined Protagonist, and Blake is going to get her Faunus army to help defend Haven Academy, I can see Ilya's fate going one of three ways. One, after the battle, she pretty much just fades into obscurity, like previous well-done characters in this show, like Team Coffee and Neptune. And maybe she'll be delegated to the pit of hell that is RWBY Chibi. She will die at the Battle of Haven, heroically, maybe. Or, the one that I hope for the most, she switches sides back to the White Fang and fights alongside Adam against Blake, Yang, and maybe Sun. And she then is a further antagonist, or, once again, back with the second idea, dies, but as an antagonist who betrayed Blake. So, thus ends RWBY Volume 5, Chapter 10. And to be honest, besides the shining Blake moments, the shining character Blake moments that happened, this, and of course the Raven and Lionheart scene, this episode was just kind of a dud for me. Overall, in my opinion, it wasn't the best episode to leave the holiday season with. So I'm hoping that with the next 4 chapters, they're able to redeem Volume 5 and get us back to some really good episodes. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed. I know it's very, very late, but, I mean, better late than never, right? Terrible. I'm still terrible. But, hey, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and favorite if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you feel inclined to, and check out some videos down below in the description, other videos that I've done. Leave a comment down below if you want to comment, and until next time, my friends, I want you to be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, and I'll see you guys next time I'm out there in YouTube land. I'll see you then.